Welcome to the Greenway with Mac, a channel dedicated to active transportation. In today's video, I'm visiting a beautiful waterfront bike path in Seattle. The Elliott Bay Trail begins at the Olympic Sculpture Garden at the intersection of Alaskan Way and Broad Street.
Olympic Sculpture Park is 9 acres of indoor and outdoor exhibits between this bike path and the train tracks. The park opened in 2007, and its outdoor exhibits and grounds are free to the public. Former president of Microsoft, John Shirley, and his wife Mary donated $30 million to get the park built, which was a collaboration between them and Seattle Art Museum director Mimi Gardner-Gates. The oil company Unocal used to own the property here, and it became a brown site, which basically means they polluted it and made the land unusable from the 1970s. Now it is one of the largest green spaces in all of downtown Seattle. But the new park did not come without controversy. The waterfront streetcar ran parallel to the west side of the Amtrak and freight tracks that are currently there. This mile-and-a-half streetcar ran mostly underneath the Alaskan Way Viaduct, and its maintenance barn was at the site of the future sculpture park. The barn was demolished in 2005, which immediately suspended the streetcar. The plan was to replace the barn with one at Occidental Park, but there were delays in planning that eventually overlapped with the planned replacement of Alaskan Way, and the project was scrapped. You can still see some of the tracks a little south of where we are, and in a minute I'll cover the most recent plan for them. Myrtle Edwards Park is one of the many open spaces along the trail and is easy to access from the opposite side of the train tracks due to this bridge called the West Thomas Street Bicycle and Pedestrian Overpass. There are not many places to access this trail from the neighborhoods to the east, and this bridge is one of the few connections. Uptown and Seattle Center are nearby if you decide to explore the other side of the tracks. As I was preparing this video, it was revealed that there is a plan to revitalize this section of the waterfront, restoring some amenities, adding new ones, and taking steps to connect this collection of parks and greenways. Melinda French Gates, Mackenzie Scott, the Diller von Furstenberg Family Foundation, and Expedia Group have pledged $45 million to create a walking and biking path on the east side of Alaskan Way, a greenway that will act as a pedestrian-friendly connection between Seattle's Olympic Sculpture Park to the north and the new waterfront park to the south. The connection they mention is the right-of-way currently occupied by the waterfront streetcar tracks. In the downtown Seattle video, I mentioned that there is a flexible plan for a bikeway in front of the cruise terminal. This plan supplements that one by using the streetcar right-of-way to create a two-way protected bikeway. While that will mean crossing Alaskan Way to reach it, and in a perfect world they would have completely removed cars from that road, I think this is a solid proposal based upon the reality of a city that just can't quit cars. In addition to this new greenway connection, the donation will add play features for kids, restore the beach coves in Myrtle Edwards Park, and revitalize the trees, plants, and lawns. At Pier 86, that structure that just popped into view, they want to restore fishing access in addition to updating the concession and restroom facilities. I know I haven't gotten to the specs of the trail yet, but there was a bunch to say right at the start, so here we go. This trail goes northwest away from downtown for nearly 2 miles that are all along the water. Then the trail continues a similar distance up and around the cruise terminal parking and some other industrial areas for a total of 3.5 miles. It's flat and almost fully separated from traffic the entire way. I have a few ideas for adding or subtracting from what you see in this video, and I'll try to mention those as we come to them on the trail. There were long sections of unpaved trail closer to the water on portions that we just rode past. If you are enjoying this path on foot, then I recommend that more relaxing option. Take a ride on this spur to get to the Expedia Group building. There's also the Helix bike and pedestrian bridge next to the building that will safely take you across the train tracks if you need to cross here. The bridge touches down at Kinnear Park, which is in the West Queen Anne neighborhood. I didn't realize it at the time, but I think the best views on the ride are right here at Elliott Bay Park.
Look back at the city and you can see the stadiums, the waterfront Ferris wheel, and Mount Rainier. We are also not too far from the end of the best portions of this Greenway. If you've got little ones with you, or you're just looking for a short ride along the water, then this is a perfectly good spot to hang out and head back. But those looking for something longer, and to see what other possible connections there are out there, then stick with me and I'll point those out. And this is the headquarters of Expedia Group, whose employees get to enjoy this amazing view. The campus is over 1 million square feet on 40 acres, and it was completed in 2021. Expedia Group was launched as a division of Microsoft in 1996. The company is known for owning and operating travel fare aggregators and travel meta-search engines. But don't use them to plan your next vacation. Book with our sponsor, MacMillan Travel Design. Across the water is Pier 90 with Pier 91 behind it. Pier 90 is home to a few warehouses, and Pier 91 is the Smith Cove Cruise Terminal. Unless you're cruising with Norwegian or Oceania cruise lines, you'll likely be using this terminal. Smith Cove Park is on the other side of Pier 91, and that's where we will end up at the conclusion of this video. But we aren't even halfway there yet, just to give you an idea of how far up and around we will be going in order to get to the park. Over on the right is kind of a sketchy bridge connection that can get you over to Elliott Avenue and the Southwest Queen Avenue Greenbelt. I used this path on my return trip, and it didn't look like there was much over there. I saw a brewery on the map, so that might be a fun place to stop. If you are a local and I missed something, don't hesitate to add a comment. People accessing the cruise port will go down this street. On my return trip, I came across this bridge and followed the signs back to the Elliott Bay Trail, and this saved about a mile. If you're saving time, then this is an alright option. If you're getting in a longer ride, then I suggest returning the way you came because you're riding along traffic on the sidewalk on the bridge above, and the ride back to the trail wasn't enjoyable at all. It's not that this part of the trail is very photogenic either, but at least you're on a protected path with a decent surface and not dealing with any high-speed drivers. This was actually a sunny and warm day, something that the locals swear is a rare occurrence, but it always seems to be this way on my visits. I felt a little exposed to the elements, but this didn't last too long. There are some trees along the path once we make our turn back towards Smith Cove Park. I was also a little concerned about being in the middle of nowhere on this path, but I saw a decent amount of people of varying demographics using the path who didn't appear to be concerned about safety. Riding this path at night could be different, so once again, any tips that locals can add in the comments would be appreciated. I'm not sure this path is lit at night. Overall, I thought the path was easy to follow. One key reason is that the signage was abundant, especially when intersecting with streets or other paths. If you decide to stray from this greenway, you should have some signage helping you to take the right path. In case you missed the downtown Seattle video, here's the route on Strava. In the description, I've also shared my originally planned route from Google, in case you wanted to explore the one which went all the way up to Lake Union. I had originally planned to continue north on 20th Avenue West, all the way to Lake Washington Shipping Canal, but I simply ran out of time on this trip. The route did seem to have long stretches of either protected bike lanes or low-traffic streets all the way to West Emerson Place. If you can make it there, then I think you can cross the bridge and make your way down to the South Ship Canal Trail. This appears to be a two-way, off-street bike path that covers several miles on the south shore of the Ship Canal. But even if you don't go that far, this north-south link divides Magnolia and Queen Anne, so you can use this connection to access those neighborhoods. Take a right here to explore these neighborhoods and open space connections. The train tracks we passed are for freight, but also serve the Amtrak Empire Builder, the Amtrak Cascades, and the Sounder N Line. While we just passed a brief inland section of the tracks, just north of us the tracks hug the shore of Puget Sound for dozens of miles and the views are breathtaking. I bring this up because the combination of bikes and trains can be an incredible way to explore the Seattle area without relying on a car. In addition, the ferry system is easy to use, affordable, and just a fantastic way to bring your bike long distances from downtown Seattle. Washington State Ferries recently finished renovating the ferry terminal at Coleman Dock, and the facilities are stunning. These ferries can take you to places such as Southworth, Bremerton, Bainbridge, and Kingston. Bike facilities vary at those destinations, so you will want to do a little research before exploring those towns. Overall, there appears to be a ton of places to explore by bike in the Seattle area. From what I could tell, there are some really long greenways in the area, including the I-90 Greenway, the 520 Trail, the Burke-Gilman Trail, the Alki Trail, and the South Ship Canal Trail, just to name a few. There is still a lot of work to do to make Seattle safe for all users across the region, but they have accomplished a lot. The organization Seattle Neighborhood Greenways is destined to keep Seattle near the top of the list of North American bike cities. The Elliott Bay Trail ends in the Magnolia neighborhood of Seattle. About 20,000 people live in this relatively isolated part of the city. Magnolia is surrounded by Elliott Bay, Puget Sound, Salmon and Shilshole Bays, the Lake Washington Ship Canal, and the train tracks, which only have 3 parts where vehicles can cross. Magnolia is named for the trees, but the Coast Guard surveyor who gave it this name misidentified the trees, which are actually madronas. Magnolia is home to Seattle's largest green space, Discovery Park, which was once home to Fort Lawton. The fort opened in 1900 to defend Seattle from a naval attack and was a relatively quiet outpost until World War II, when it became the second busiest port of embarkation for soldiers and materials headed to the Pacific Theater. In 1909, the 25th Infantry Regiment, also known as the Buffalo Soldiers, were transferred to Fort Lawton from the Philippines. Bob Marley fans probably know this was a segregated military unit composed mainly of African Americans. The initial 900 soldiers and their families stationed here were 1/3 of Seattle's African American population. In 1970, Native Americans occupied the land and were successful in taking 40 acres, which was used to build the Daybreak Star Cultural Center. Most of the remaining land was turned over to the city in 1972, and a year later, it became Discovery Park. One of the highlights of Discovery Park is the nearly 3-mile loop trail, which is a hot spot for seeing wildlife. Our trail ends at Smith Cove Park, which includes this open grassy area to the right, and just around the corner is a small picnic area right on the water. This road does not have a separated path, but will take you to Magnolia Park, Discovery Park, and the rest of the Magnolia neighborhood. Tap the like button if you enjoyed this trip on the Elliott Bay Trail. And if you like to find new greenways, then hit the subscribe button. Thanks for joining on today's ride. I'll see you in the next Greenway.